Thank you for joining me on the journey. This is Completed Christianity. So welcome back. Another episode of Being Complete. And today we're going to talk about the misunderstood verses, our series on the Sermon on the Mount. So we're going to continue on with that today. And we're going to be looking once again still at our verse in Matthew 5:17 through 19. And today we're going to be talking about the law of the prophets, the law and the prophets. And so let's take a look at our verse. So our verse says, "Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete." So there's the traditional teaching on this. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Traditional teaching on this has issues. And we're taught these things typically when we're young. And if you go to a seminary, you're taught that by people who know better than you do. And you just don't got a leg to stand on in any otherwise. And so whenever you're taught these things, you're like, oh, well, I guess that's the way it is. You know, I don't know anything, and they're the ones that have the degrees, and so that's the way that it is. Well, here we have an issue. So the typical teaching on this law abolishing doctrine that says that it's fulfilled, so it's canceled, it's no longer for us, it's done away with. We don't do that anymore. We're New Testament Christians. That's Old Testament. That's Old Covenant. But the law is not the covenant. The law is not a covenant. A covenant is an agreement put on top of the law. And so right here, we want to say that the law is canceled, done away with, because of the word that's typically translated here as fulfilled, here where it says did not come to destroy but to complete, fulfill. this word fulfilled, or fulfill, this word, if it cancels the law, then it also cancels the prophets. If the law is no longer for us, the prophets are no longer for us. So there is no more prophecy to be fulfilled. But this passage obviously contradicts that statement, because down here it says, shall by no means pass from the law, the Torah, till all be done. In most translations that says till all be fulfilled. So there's still things to be fulfilled, and nobody disputes that. So this is just junk theology to say that, the law is canceled, but the prophets aren't. Can't have it both ways. If the law is canceled, then there's no more prophecy to be fulfilled. Another passage similar to this, Luke 16:16. The Torah and the prophets are until John. Oh, there you go. The laws, that's what's typically taught with this passage. The law was until John, and now the law is done away with, because it was until John. So once John the Baptist came, the law is no more. Case closed. But that's not even the typical teaching. Because if you ask most any pastor, oh, when was the law fulfilled? When was it done away with? They'll say, oh, at the cross. That's where it was done away with. And they'll say that anything before the cross is Old Testament. And that's sort of true. But the thing is they think that once the cross came, now it's New Testament, everything changed. the law is done away with. That's not the case. And so this right here, the Torah and the prophets, are until John. So it's just this complete disconnect to say that, well, the law is only till John, blah, blah, blah. But just gloss over that, then you'll also have to say that the prophets are only until John. So the Torah and the prophets are until Yohanan. Since then, the reign of the Mighty One is being announced, and everyone is doing violence upon it, or everyone is pressing into it. So the other thing that flies in the face of the traditional teaching on this is the next verse. All you gotta do is read the next verse, which is much like the same verse in Matthew 5. It's basically a quote, which is this: and it's easier for the heaven and the earth to pass away than for one tittle of the Torah to fail, or to fall. So right there we see this that the Torah and the prophets, they're linked and hinged together, joined at the hip, and that if one's canceled, the other's canceled. But that's not the intent of what he's trying to say here. He's trying to say that those led us up until this point, but since then we also have this reign of the Mighty One being announced, and so you have all of these things going on, and the Torah and the prophets, they hinge together. You can't cancel one without canceling the other. And then, just in case you thought one was canceled, goes on to say that it's easier for the heaven and earth to pass away than for one tittle of the Torah to fail. So, our conclusions for this series, for the last 3 videos now: even if the law were done away with, we are still to keep it, unless we want to be least in the kingdom. As long as heaven and earth still exist, then the law is still valid. If the law is canceled or done away with, are no longer applicable, so are the prophets. Psalm 89:34, my covenant I will not break, nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Comment down below. Comments of opposition are welcome. Just don't say anything dumb like we're not under the law. We're under grace because you've been taught to use that verse outside of the bounds of its intended context. Subscribe now. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so that you get notifications of all future videos.